At this point, I'm going to say the same to you, President Nelson. On the issue of abuse prevention policy, you are a lazy learner. You've not worked it out in your mind as instructed by Scripture. You've not allowed abuse prevention experts to come and visit with you. You've had the door closed to them, the walls closed to them. You've not allowed mental health professionals to come and visit with you. You've not invited victims of abuse in the church to come in and share their stories so that you can learn something from those and try to figure out, well, what can we do different to make sure that never happens again? But who you have let into the door, a full seat at the table, is church attorneys. And we know that church attorneys, any attorneys don't give the best moral advice. Church attorneys are compared to scribes of old. Jesus didn't like the scribes. And that's what a modern day scribe is an attorney. And they look for the legal aspects of things with no moral fabric. Christ despised what the scribes did. But we know that these men that you're getting this legal advice from, they're not going out. They're not trying to find a better path. But yet you've given them the full reins. You've delegated the entire abuse prevention policy to church attorneys. It's evident. Every time you come out with a statement saying, well, we do not tolerate any abuse of any kind, and if you keep coming out with those statements, that's the sure sign of an organization that has a very bad abuse prevention policy. When they have to keep coming out and saying they don't support abuse. That's a very lazy learner type of abuse prevention policy. What is good abuse prevention policy is, I'm just going to go off my thing. What is good abuse prevention policy is you need to have an effective way for a victim to report their abuse. You've got to have a means for an effective way for the victim to report their abuse. And I know a couple of years ago you sent out an announcement, an attorney-guided one, saying how to report abuse, and it was a quick news release, and then it's never happened again. This should be as part of the Mormon culture, that a child, anybody being abused, there should be a quick and easy path for that person to report their abuse. But, the attorneys will tell you don't do that. And there's a reason why. Because if somebody reports abuse and that abuse is not addressed, that's a liability to the organization that adopted that policy to have a good reporting process. So you choose to not have any policy at all to report abuse. The second policy is you don't have any almost negligent abuse prevention training for anybody. You have like a 15 or 20 minute video you adopted, I think, 3 years ago. There's no way anybody can know how to properly recognize and address abuse in 15 to 20 minutes. That's an attorney-written policy because you want to have as little policy as you possibly can, according to the church attorneys. And the reason is because you have a policy indicating what to do, and somebody doesn't follow that policy, and you get into a court. What's going to happen is they're going to say, look, it's in your own policy and you didn't follow it. So it increases liability risk. You know that. Your church attorneys know that. And so do a whole bunch of other church attorneys. Some lazy learners here. You can do better. We need to make a cultural change where abuse is not acceptable. You don't cover up abuse. The third part is you want to have a policy that quickly and effectively addresses abuse once it happens. You're not doing that. And the reason is because if you go and investigate what happened, it could expose a negligence on your part and that person's abuse. So instead, you want to cover that up as quick as possible. You want to become angry. You're sending at least your church attorneys to become very angry at victims, to try to silence them. I think of those two little girls in Arizona. They were raped for years. And the only thing in your news release that you were worried about is, was it legal or not? It is so shameful. You weren't worried about those two little girls. And what was told to them is that it's just a money grab. Your words, at least your attorney's words, you treat the victims with anger and hate and attack. It's not acceptable. Not acceptable at all. You know, my own family, we've suffered dearly because of your policy. You know, I lost a son to suicide. You know that. And what does a righteous father do when he loses a son to suicide? He's going to go and ask that that abuse be addressed. And that is something I did. I asked the stake president and the bishop to come to our house and to address that abuse, and they said they would. But what does church policy instruct a stake president and a bishop to do once they learn of serious abuse? You know the policy is to call the church attorney through the bishop's hotline. And I'm telling you, those attorneys are not there to do what's moral. It's not their job. Their job is to give the best legal advice, not the best moral advice. You're not giving them. Okay.
I was going to show it.
You can. Katie's going to show the building real quick. It's right across the street. So there it is. It's right across the street from the church administrative building, where the prophet. Kind of interesting. You got the church attorneys right across the street from where the top 15 have their offices. I don't think that's a coincidence, my friends. But anyways, we asked that abuse be addressed, and initially the stake president said he would do it, but once he called the church attorneys, it's a common story. Our story is not unique. They became aggressive with me. They became aggressive with my wife on instructions from church attorneys. President Nelson, you delegated policy on abuse to church attorneys. And for me, that's a lazy learner. You need to start doing what the scriptures teach. Work it out in your mind, because nobody else can. Nobody else can. It's in your mind. You need to talk to people, broaden your horizons, and then adopt a moral abuse prevention policy. Christ is not proud, and children are going to die if you don't do this. They are dying. I'm getting tired of hearing children coming to me talking suicide, and some of them are dying of suicide because of the policy you've adopted. And you think this isn't going to be on you? You think it's going to be a good and faithful servant? President Nelson, you're not that far away. You know, you think it's going to be a welcome, good and faithful servant? No, it's going to be a lazy learner. Welcome for you, President Nelson. And President Oaks, guess what? You're next in line from what we're hearing. And I'm giving you the message ahead of time right now, because who knows, maybe get a little bit of good faith for President Nelson, 5 or 6 more years. It's going to be you, President Oaks. We're giving him some time there, some blessing. And it's going to be you. President Oaks, are you going to follow what those did ahead of you? Are you going to let the attorneys run your abuse prevention policy? Those guys are not taking care of your people that you're leading. They're harming them in great ways. Or are you going to work it out in your mind as instructed by Scripture and come out and listen to other viewpoints and come up with a more effective abuse prevention policy? You've got to do it. You've got to do it. But anyways, that's my message for right now. We'll be back to share some more. But come on down and visit with us. You know, we're not your enemies. The Mormon people are my family, my friends, my culture, and my heritage. You know, all those people you're calling lazy learners, you know what? Those people are also family. They're also, that's their culture, their heritage. Just because you left the church doesn't mean it's not your culture and it's not your family and it's not your lifetime of friends. We want to treat these people with love, not scorn. But anyways, President Nelson, come on down and visit with me, and we'll talk. We'll talk again. See you later. You got somebody else?
Yeah, I wanted to talk.
Katie wants to talk.
We're having a problem with the battery going down.